Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2019 Career Mode, episode number 96 today for the German Grand Prix in Season 5. If you guys did miss the previous one, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one at the British Grand Prix. It was a mega fight back for us, a really great race as a whole for the team as well, as George Russell was very punchy in that Grand Prix. We essentially had to do a last question mark challenge due to the penalties we took with the gearbox, and we decided to also take some engine ones there as well, but it did afford us a brand new engine, of course, for that episode, and we bring that into this episode now with a fresh kind of new set of parts to use, and we do have a fresh set of upgrades now as well for the car on the ERS side of things and the rear downforce. Also, we do have some more rain involved for this episode. Like last episode, the rain will be coming in qualifying again, so here's hoping this time maybe we're able to get out a little bit further than where we did last time out. But you can see the upgrades have now got us ahead on paper of Williams. Williams, actually, I've only just noticed, have pretty much plateaued since the Chinese Grand Prix, so I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know if that's where the Williams car maxes out to. If it is, that's a little bit worrying, to be honest, but we're now ahead of two teams now, finally, on the R&D chart, and you can see the field spread is only getting closer and closer here. But last time, Hamilton, again, won that Grand Prix, hoping that maybe someone can try and topple him this episode, try and stop that momentum he's building slowly but surely at the moment, because he does already have quite a nice cushion to the rest of us, basically, because the rest of us are all so close and fighting so hard every single Grand Prix. If you can just be as consistent as Hamilton has been the last few episodes, you can pretty much kind of run away with it, basically, which he kind of almost is starting to. So here's hoping, for the sake of the championship and the season series, that someone can maybe topple him today and try and just not get and try and topple him at least to the second step of the podium at least. But we'll see how things go, basically. Let's go towards Saturday, and like I said, let's hope it's a better day than it was last episode on Saturday.
Welcome back to qualifying, where we're waiting for the lights to turn green in the pit lane to signify the start of the session here at the Hockenheim Ring for this weekend's German Grand Prix. And as we wait, poised for the start of what will hopefully be a thrilling qualifying, why don't you tell us, Anthony Davidson, about the things you can do to really get the most out of a car in a session like this?
Well, you're largely limited by the Parc Fermé regulations, of course. Back in the old days, pre-2004, you'd work on both a qualifying setup and a race setup over practice, and then swap them over after qualifying. So the race car was quite different at times to the qualifying car. Nowadays, though, you have to find a compromise that works for both. There are a few things that you can still adjust during the session, such as the differential, the brake bias, and the front wing angle, but that's about it. So it's more about optimizing what you do have and adapting your own style to suit the track conditions.
Information time, we've lost oil pressure. Looks like a leak somewhere in the system. We're on standby for the time being until we can patch it up.
Right, so in typical Ferrari fashion then, after I say I hope we can have a better Saturday than the last one we had last episode, we have an issue with the car there that stops us going out for a few minutes there, so we kind of lose some time in Q1, and it is important that time that we lost, basically, because the rain, you would have seen in the forecast indicator on the menus there at the very start of the episode, was actually indicating more rain than there was last episode at Silverstone, in terms of it was going to come faster at Hockenheim here, and you can already see it's getting darker. We come through for our first flying lap then on the soft tyres, and it's only good enough for P17. Russell is down in P18, so it's been a horrendous first run for both myself and Russell. We go through for a second flyer. My first sector was purple there, you can see, but then a red second sector, and not improving too much in the third sector with a screen freeze as well. Double lock up across the grass we go, and that's pretty much our lap time done. I wasn't going to improve that, so I just kind of bail in and try and come in for a fresh set of soft tyres. But by the time we come out on that second fresh set of softs, you can clearly see it is way too wet now. The rain is already starting to come down, and so this is an absolute calamity. I'm in P17, Russell P18, and that's it. I'm not going to go any faster, am I? Because now the DRS can be closed, it's going to get wetter and wetter, and so that is it. We are out of qualifying for the first time of asking. P17, Russell in P18, and I'm suddenly getting a very bad flashback to the beginning of this season, where this is where the car was. Like, literally actually was. We were qualifying P17 and 18 on merit at the start of the season, when the car was woefully slow compared to everyone else. We know how quick the car can be. We showed it last episode. I don't know what on earth has gone on here. The car, it didn't even feel that bad. It felt a little bit slippery out there at the very start when we got out for that first run. run. I don't know, it's almost like the car's just broken somewhere, and so no matter how hard me and Russell pushed there in qualifying, it just wasn't going to go any faster, because Russell, obviously, I don't know if Russell had the same issue as I did of not going out for 4 minutes. If he didn't, then he just had a woeful time of it. So yeah, I am scratching my head really of what's gone on there. Obviously, we didn't go any faster because of the rain, and the issue at the start didn't help. So kind of both of them compounded our misery today, basically. If we hadn't had the 4 minutes of issues at the start, I might have got a faster lap in to get us through into Q2. Alas, that's what happened. We had that one or two attempts. On the second attempt, I had a woeful second sector and the screen freeze. So that's the way the cookie crumbles then today. So P17-18. Again, we have a big fight back on our hands then in the race. And again, it'll be sunny for the entirety of Sunday. So I guess let's hope that race pace we showed last episode is there again. Because otherwise, we're going to have a pretty miserable time here at the German Grand Prix. But let's go. Let's go to the grids and just see how we do.
Good afternoon and welcome to a place that is very special to us all in the Formula One community. It's the Hockenheim Ring, home of the German Grand Prix. Always good for a close scrap is Hockenheim. Think back to Alonso, Ricciardo, Vettel as recently as 2014, and I'm expecting some more strong racing today. We're racing in the Rhine Valley this weekend at the home of many of the sport's finest competitors. The 2.8-mile Hockenheim Ring requires precision through the technical stadium section and great raw speed down the long, flat-out curve towards the popular overtaking zone of the Turn 6 hairpin. Watch out for a lot of wheel-to-wheel action there today. Anthony Davidson, thanks for joining me once again for the Grand Prix. Why don't we start by talking about Valtteri Bottas? As ever, the threat of unreliability is never far away, and indeed they'll be starting out of position today due to a power unit component change. So it's going to be a difficult task to move forward from there.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo. A strong showing from the Australian. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Butler, Weber, Lance Stroll and Leclerc, Norris, Verstappen, Perez and Antonio Giovinazzi, Hülkenberg, Grosjean, Daniel Kvyat and Gasly, Vettel, the engineer, George Russell and Kimi Raikkonen. Magnussen and Valtteri Bottas begins the race from the back of the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
The more and more I think about it, the more I feel like this car really is kind of almost has been broken the entire season in a way. Like, this car is so slow in quality, it would seem like, for myself and Russell, because it's not like Russell's been out-qualifying me, and it's just that I'm a slow qualifier in this Ferrari. Especially at the end of last season, the Mercedes car, I got even better at qualifying on this game, really, but this car just is bottlenecking myself and Russell every time we get to Saturdays. There are a few glimpses where we have qualified well, I will admit, a few races, but there's definitely been more races often than not that we've qualified so poorly, knocked out in Q1 or low Q2, and we've had to come back due to the race pace, which always seems to be there and much better than the qualifying pace. So very baffling, very kind of Ferrari-esque, because over the years Ferrari have had that in real life. You know, I think back to like 2011 where they always used to be faster at the beginning of Grand Prix on heavier fuel and then on lower fuel. 2012 in many ways as well, 2013. Yeah, there's always been cases where Ferrari have had this kind of weird evolution of when their car is quick in certain periods of the race weekend and whatnot. So I guess this one in Season 5 here with myself and Russell at the wheel, it's just a characteristic that it's slow in quali and then just picks up mega pace in the right. I don't know. You saw last episode how quick Russell was looking, how punchy he was. So it's, yeah, very, very odd here today. But anyway, for the German GP, strategy-wise, it's going to be a one-stop. I haven't actually had a fully dry German GP for 2 seasons now. Season 4 and Season 3, we both had rain involved in the race. So kind of nice to see how a kind of completely dry race pans out for us, I guess, in terms of the tyre wear levels. One stop using the mediums to the hard tyres, so unfortunately can't use the soft compound at all. It looks like that's going to be too harsh in terms of the tyre wear on it, so that's fine enough. I think most people, I think everyone actually probably will be starting on the mediums, because everyone, remember, qualified probably on intermediates or full wets, because after I got knocked out, it was then raining for the rest of the Saturday, so I think everyone's going to be doing this top strategy there. In terms of the setup, I will actually note to you guys that because we have that extra rear downforce downforce upgrade, I have actually put the rear wing 1 click lower than the front wing. Usually I love to balance out this setup, or so let's say for instance I do 5 on the front, I do 5 on the rear to try and give that stability to me, because it's a bit more of a comfortable drive then in the race. This time I thought, because we've got a lopsided car in terms of we've definitely got more rear downforce upgrades than front downforce upgrades on this car, why don't I just try 1 click down? And I did kind of feel that make the car a little bit unstable, a little bit on that one run I got in qualifying. So I'll be curious to see, a little bit worried maybe that on higher fuel here at the start of this Grand Prix, that might make our car a little bit tricky to drive, but let's hope not so much, and let's hope we just have that same sort of pace we showed last episode at Silverstone. Alright, so let's get into this then. We have another race in the middle of this season where both myself and Russell may have to come through the field for points today. Here we go then to 5 red lights to the German GP, and we're underway. It's a bit of a sluggish start for us, a great one for Sebastian Vettel. They're slow for Kvyat in the Alfa Romeo. Ahead of us, we tuck up Raikkonen behind us into turn 1. Bit of a cautious attempt into turn 1 is I nearly sat on the back of Kvyat there. Had to double lock up to stop myself going too quick into the corner. Now we're going to try and have a look around the outside of Pierre Gasly then. Meanwhile, Vettel on the inside of Kvyat for the next left-hander. Squeeze him out. Bit of contact made between the German and the Russian there. But here we go now. They're building up the speed. We know how quick this car can be in a straight line. Maybe even quicker now with that lower rear wing than a front wing on my setup. And we go around the outside of Vettel and Kvyat. Bit of an awkward one at the hairpin, trying to jockey for position here. It's generally awkward on this game, I feel. I've never got used to the hairpin on F1 2019. It just feels so awkward at Hockenheim there, because you always understeer. You want to try and get the nose in for first gear, but then that kind of unsettles the car a little bit, and the AI just do it perfectly every time. So still after 5 seasons, I still haven't got that right, really, to be honest. But now we move through onto lap number 2 then, chasing after Romain Grosjean. We're up into P13 then. It is at the moment on the end of lap 1 into 2, so pretty decent start, I'd say. Pretty decent opening lap. But now we try and cut in tight and get the power down earlier than Grosjean can. No DRS yet, just pure slipstream overtake mode, rich mix. But we know, like I said, how quick the car can be in a straight line, and so we're going to use that to our advantage all race long, I hope. It's just a case of can we try and keep up in the corners, really, because already I can tell you it did feel a little bit awkward on the rear end in some of these corners, especially sector 2 and 3, just trying to balance the car with that one less rear wing compared to the front wing. I'm so used to having a comfortable, stable car with this Ferrari. It's felt pretty decent all season, but this was the first time where it felt a little bit slidey and a bit too lively on the rear end for my liking. But we're going to have to try and get through it and basically use the advantage in a straight line to kind of make up for it. And here we go. We're going to do just that against Nico Hülkenberg and potentially alter the second car of Giovinazzi then on the inside of 2 cars. It's 3 wide of the hairpin. Very awkward there. Giovinazzi on the outside keeps the position, and somehow Hülkenberg also keeps the position. Where on earth was he? I'm pretty sure he overtook us off track there, but that's what I mean by I've still not got used to the hairpin on this game versus the AI. They're so good at getting the mid-apex speed, whereas I'm just sitting there like a lemming at the apex, unable to rotate the car through. And so Hülkenberg keeps the position, Giovinazzi keeps the position. So it's deja vu for maybe Austria, where we couldn't get past the cars and we're held up in the midfield fight here on lap number 4. This is not where I want to be. Here we go, second bite of the cherry again on the right side, nearly off circuit there on the right as those two squeeze me. This time though, we get the elbows out, we squeeze out Giovinazzi, and we're going to also try and squeeze out Hülkenberg. A bit of a drift through that corner, kick out the tail to pretty much push Hülkenberg's nose away, and we're up into P10 finally there. But that was a much bigger fight than I actually wanted it to be, basically, for that position. But got it done in the end, I guess, so that's all that matters. And meanwhile, behind me, Russell, my teammate, also trying to get a move on here. He's been a little bit slower in this Grand Prix at the start, only now getting past Sebastian Vettel. I think that is down the inside with DRS into the hairpin there, so hopefully he's kind of going to make some more progress after this. But you can see how close he is to the rear end of the field, really. But you can see how close this entire kind of second half of the field is. I mean, it's just the whole pack is only covered by a few seconds there. Meanwhile, up ahead is Lando Norris, who leads the Grand Prix. Second place was Ricciardo, but he's just been overtaken by, I think that's Devin Butler in the Red Bull there. So Butler P2, Ricciardo P3 in the Silver Arrow. Then you got P4, Lucas Weber, P5, then it's Leclerc. And then behind Verstappen, we cut onto a brilliant timing there as Verstappen goes round the outside and overtakes Lewis Hamilton, the championship leader, down to I think about P7 that is, I think, if I count correctly. And then you've got the second Red Bull then of Lance Stroll after that. So Hamilton a little bit slow in this race. Ricciardo looking okay, so it's not really a Mercedes thing. It looks like Hamilton is literally, he's just slow in the car, whereas Ricciardo's got some pace there. So maybe, I don't know, the F1 gods, or maybe Hamilton himself has been kind of listening through, have got through to him with mind games there, asking him to go a little bit slower in this Grand Prix, because he is a bit slower. So that's good news for the championship, I guess. But obviously for me, I'm down in P10, so it doesn't matter right now. I'm still going to lose points to him and and my other rivals in the standing. So I need to get a move on here as we move on now to lap number 10, watching Lance Stroll be overtaken by the McLaren there as Sergio Perez. So whilst Norris leads the way, Perez down here in P8 here, only now getting to P8. So like the Mercedes team, we've got one driver doing a lot better in this GP and the other kind of struggling for pace. And I guess that's the same way for me as well, because Russell right now is struggling to get past that traffic, whereas, I've managed to get through it eventually on lap number 12 now as we're up into P10. But having said that, you would have noticed for 2 laps I've been stuck in P10 behind Stroll, only now getting the momentum on this back straight here with DRS. He's got DRS also, though, off the McLaren, so that's why he's kind of kept ahead of me. But we're going to be very aggressive into the hairpin, try and squeeze him through as he tries his best to keep it on the right-hand side on the inside there, but eventually we do get that, and we're up into P9. But yeah, for 2 laps there, I just couldn't get past Stroll in a straight line, nor the corners. I wasn't able to keep up with him. And again, you can see there, going off just ahead of the Mercedes grandstand here at Hockenheim. The car is just feeling very, very odd, and I've just not got the supreme confidence I had, let's say, last episode at Silverstone here. I don't know if it's the rear wing difference. I don't think it is, because it can't be that dramatic, really, just one simple click. So I just don't know what it is. Like I said, the qualifying was so poor. Surely something's got to be up with this car this race weekend. I just don't know what, really. Russell's been quite slow this entire episode compared to his performance last episode. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just making excuses for all of us, but for some reason, just something that seems a little bit off compared to last episode at Silverstone. But we keep on moving on, and we keep on trying to make the moves when we can. And on lap 15 here, you can see taking it a little bit easier than we did on the previous lap in that right-hander, where I nearly kind of smashed Perez up on the rear end there. But we've got a massive gaggle of cars up ahead of us there that are fighting. You can see 3 wide up ahead, maybe even 4 wide. So can we get stuck in here and catch someone napping? Surely we can. One of them is Hamilton. I think that is on the outside. Yes, he's squeezed out by the Renault and the Toro Rosso. I think it's Leclerc, Butler and Hamilton fighting. Then Perez goes down the inside. Hamilton down to P8. We need to try and pounce right now. This is our only chance maybe in the Grand Prix to try and overtake the championship leader and finally get some points back on the Brit. And so here we go to the inside. Going to try and follow Perez's line through. It's so close between us three into what is nearly a flat out right-hander. Oh my God, we've made some contact with Perez, and at about 130 miles per hour did a tiny little mini drift halfway through the apex to get that through. That was so fine. I mean, look in the replays here. My God, I was probably inches away from spinning that so quickly into the gravel or the wall or just out this Grand Prix there. But we live to fight another day there. But mighty stuff to get Hamilton there. Couldn't quite get Perez. I didn't actually mean to. I was just trying to get down the inside and follow Perez through. But because Perez left me some room and I was so late on the brakes, I actually ended up trying to overtake him when I didn't mean to, basically. But yeah, it worked out in the end there. But my God, that was a heart-mouth moment in the cockpit there. Trying to keep the car in a straight line. Thankfully, Perez in turn more into me, basically. And now we can try and fight on and actually fully try and overtake him here as we move on to lap number 16 then. DRS open, and we're so far back, but this is the power of DRS on our car in a straight line here. He's not got DRS, so it invites us to make the move on the outside. On the left-hand side, we get the job done just about on the apex, on the exit there. We're going to squeeze him out to make sure he doesn't get through on the right there. A little bit over-aggressive, maybe, squeezing him, but I guess, you know, paying him back for nearly taking me out and nearly having that crash earlier. And so we're up into now what is P2, because on lap 17 we've already had a few cars ahead of us pit. I've yet to pit along with Dan Ricciardo, but now you can see I've said box in this lap, and so I will come in on this lap for this set of hard tyres. But yeah, wow, that was a mega bit of action there, and we still have maybe some more to come, because you saw Leclerc in the Toro Rosso and the Renault, I think it was Verstappen in the Renault, were right there also fighting Hamilton, so we were quite close to them. So in theory, we should come out of this pit stop pretty close by to them and within range of maybe trying to catch them. And let's just hope maybe these hard tyres work okay. The reason why I was kind of gutted we couldn't do some sort of strategy with just the softs and mediums was I remembered the hard tyres weren't amazing at Germany. I had to go quite long on them last season on the Mercedes car because I had that massive spin and moment in Sector 2 halfway through the Grand Prix, so we had no choice but to go longer. But they aren't exactly the best tyres. I mean, in general, the hard tyres are pretty horrendous around most circuits, really, in terms of the heat up and the time it takes to kind of rubber in. But we've got no choice here today. So now we're out P7. Leclerc is ahead of us there. Hamilton behind us, thankfully, but Hamilton's actually managed to re-jump Perez then behind me. But we've now got a good opportunity to overtake Leclerc here in the Toro Rosso, who seems a little bit slow there. Gave me the room on the outside, the hairpin, and we got a good exit. And can we try and just bump this up into overtake mode? Rich Mix getting right behind him. He's going to give us enough room. Yes, he will. Down the outside we go. As George Russell goes out the GP, then I make the move on Leclerc. A really tidy move to the inside there. He just gave me enough room, and we had enough space to work with. But as I did that, you saw there on the message board, Russell out of this Grand Prix. He's retired, and maybe this explains a lot. Maybe this is why he's been so slow this entire episode, because it was baffling. You know, you guys saw it. You guys were equally impressed in the comments of the last episode how punchy this guy was at Silverstone, but he's been nowhere near the same driver this race, and maybe this is why. Maybe his car's had a mechanical issue slowing him down the entire time, and only now has it come through to actually fully end his race there, because it's not an engine failure. It seems like just a mechanical issue somewhere that's stopping that car, so that may have been just niggling away at him the entire Grand Prix actually, until it kind of forced him out of retirement, into a retirement I should say. So maybe that was it. But anyway, move on then through this Grand Prix. I'm the only lone Ferrari then in the kind of top fight here, and we've got the two Renaults fighting away now. Weber versus Verstappen there, and I think that's Verstappen overtaking Lucas to get up into what is P3 in this Grand Prix, I believe, because P4, sorry, P4, because P3 is Butler. Ricciardo's actually managed to get back up into P2, because initially Butler had that P2 after overtaking him early on, and it's still Lando Norris dominating this German Grand Prix, so good to see for him, I guess. He's obviously in the championship fight, actually. I think he's in P3 in the standing, so that'll be quite big for him for the championship, especially considering Hamilton is still down in, I think, P8 or P9 here in this GP. But the battling will still continue for one of the Renaults as we move through into lap 25. Then 9 laps to go in this GP. It's Verstappen v Butler, so it must have been Weber, actually. That was the Renault that got ahead then for P4. And so you've got Verstappen on the outside. I think that is Butler on the inside there. And there's still side by side. Oh, I think there was a bit of contact there. You know, I think Verstappen almost got put into the gravel trap by Butler. So the elbows are getting brought out here. And we're going to join the party now, lap 26. You can still see, though, the rear end a little bit unstable for me through that right and then left. But here we go with DRS here. Just going to try and come in for a late move, maybe on the Red Bull. I don't think we'll get the Renault, but we will get the Red Bull to the inside of Butler there. And we're going to squeeze him out as we just nicely slot ourselves in between those two. Nicely tucked up behind Verstappen. And we're up into P5. And we can stay within the DRS of Verstappen. I feel like we could get P4 as well. I think on paper, without DRS, I think that Renault's got the pace to keep ahead of me. But with DRS, it's a different story, because this car has been basically set up for straight line speed, basically, as you've seen the entire race here. So here we go. It's been an easy move there. The move actually got done before I could even commentate on it. And we're up into P4 of the GP. I think Weber's probably a little bit too far ahead for us, and he actually goes on to overtake Ricciardo for P2. And Verstappen actually goes on to send one down the inside of myself. I saw him coming at a rate of knots, so I actually slowed down on purpose just as we got to that corner, because I knew I'd get the detection point for the DRS, and so we can re-overtake him. So bit of a wild old fox move there on Verstappen to get back into P4, but you have to do these things to try and maintain the position. But yeah, like I said before that, Weber actually has the pace to overtake Ricciardo there. So it's Norris from Weber, I believe, in second place then in the Renault, then Ricciardo to third place, and myself still maintaining his P4, and hopefully to the end of this Grand Prix. Only 3 laps left to go, and so here we are then, lap 34, and it is going to be ourselves booking in for P4 in this Grand Prix. It's another very, very odd race weekend where the car had no pace in qualifying. We've had to come through everything. This race was especially tricky, the car feeling so odd halfway through, or pretty much most of this race here. But P4, it's a very, very solid result. We've beaten the championship leader Hamilton, so I can't really complain too much there. It's another solid day in the office for Ferrari.
Okay, good job, mate. Really well done. That was a fantastic drive.
What a fantastic Grand Prix that was, and an excellent win for McLaren. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, when you overtake that many people, I'd certainly hope you'd win the race. Their car was really effective in the slipstream here today, and the team will be pleased that they didn't cook the engine, given how long they were spending in the hot air behind other cars. They had a lot of confidence to push their tyres hard as well, especially going into the corners, which allowed for some late braking and some exciting passes.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race from the McLaren team, and I'm really happy to see them there on the top step of the podium.
So it's going to be Lando Norris and Lucas Weber bagging a whole lot of points for the championship. Also myself as well. So all three of us, actually, the three drivers behind Hamilton, all of us finished up ahead of Hamilton today. So closing up the championship. You can see there, that's how much of an advantage Hamilton had. The gap is still 16 points to Weber. So the cushion's still kind of there for Hamilton. There's 16 points in a F1 2019 career mode. Still pretty large of a margin there. So still some work to do for all of us to catch up there. And you can see McLaren now closing up to Mercedes in constructors. And we are very much, I think this race confirms it, we're very much in no man's land of, I don't think we'll be getting any higher than P4 in the constructors for Ferrari this season, because we just started off so slow compared to everyone else, and everyone else appears to be so consistent, whereas we've still got this very weird thing of being slow on Saturday, fast on Sunday, maybe an issue in the car for Russell today that slowed him down compared to last episode. So, well, I don't think we have the car really to mount a Constructors' Championship fight, but for me, I don't know, I'm still not really fully thinking about the championship fully, even though I've mentioned it quite a few times. I'm mentioning it for the sake of, I'm hoping the AI have a good fight in the championship, but I don't believe I'm in the fight fully yet. I won't believe I'm in the fight fully yet until we're about 15 or 10 points behind the championship leader. So for now, I'm just kind of an outsider, looking in, hoping that the other three can have a good scrap for the standings, and maybe I can try and come in late. But as it stands, this car has been nowhere near a race winner in the last few episodes. It's been a great car, don't get me wrong. It's been, in the last two episodes, we've clearly shown it has great race pace. It's come through the field time and time again, but it's but we've not been anywhere near the race win, nowhere near a convincing podium or a race win. So we've still got so long to go, and I just don't think we're going to be able to string together the results to get into a championship fight and actually fully be fighting properly and not just kind of mathematically be there. But maybe that's just me being pessimistic. I don't know. Maybe what do you guys make of it in the comments below? But we're going to wait and see. For now, I'm just being very patient, still taking it race by race, that very classic F1 line, but it is really true in this case. I am very much just taking it race by race and seeing what we can do. But for now, the car, I don't think it's a championship winning car quite yet here as we have it in Season 5. But guys, nonetheless, if you did enjoy that episode, because it was another thrilling one, a lot of action there, the biggest one being that move on Perez, or that kind of half move on Perez, the one I didn't plan to do. Absolute heart-mouth moment. So guys, if you did enjoy that, be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been Alpha. Have a good day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.